Okay, so Black Ops 7 has been released and has lowered skill-based matchmaking and aim assist. Battlefield 6 has also released their Season 1 along with the Battle Royale Red Sec. Now, there's a shift happening when it comes to the arcade FPS games, and a lot of us have felt the staleness of COD over the years, so to see Battlefield taking the limelight and pushing Activision to do things that maybe they should have done years ago got me thinking, why other FPS games that have come out failed where Battlefield has found success? Now, focusing, like I said, on the arcade shooter aspect, I know we have Arc Raiders is out and it's doing phenomenal. I actually love watching people play this game. I myself am not an extraction shooter person, but I do love watching the game. I love the visuals, the sound of it, the music, it's fantastic. But I digress. One of the things that I think that gets overlooked often is the graphics and the fluidity fall short when it comes to these games. Games like XDefiant and Shatterline are examples of this. They don't offer much to look at when it comes to the fluidity of combat. For me, it didn't look cool to do stuff. It was very clunky mantling, reloading, and even sprinting sometimes. They have a very stop-go way of play that comes off jarring for me. I think this is something that isn't mentioned often, and with these games, I think it's very important. The first thing that we get when we see these games when they come out are the graphics and how things move, and that can often determine the early reception of the game. It has to look cool and fun to do things. If I gave COD anything, they definitely know how to make the game look smooth with transitioning from one action to another. Movement and just overall gameplay feels fluid. They just lack everything else that makes an arcade shooter fun. Now, Battlefield has done a tremendous job at this as well. It's definitely slower than these games, but it's still very smooth, and what they lack in speed, they make up for in dynamics and cinematic gameplay, the things that make Battlefield unique. The other aspect I think that gets overlooked heavily is using esports to push the game, but not making the game truly competitive. This one is a bit personal for me, being a competitive person, but it always seems like they get these high-skilled streamers or players to play and promote the game, promising things competitive players will like, just to turn around and remove any skill out the game, make guns, skins, or even characters overpowered for the sake of sales, only for the casual audience to still get bored and leave. Now, this game isn't a shooter, but Tekken has done this as well. Now, Tekken 7 was very turtly, and there wasn't much to be gained from well-placed attacks. Tekken 8, on the other hand, is definitely pretty to look at, and you absolutely have a lot of agency offensively, but defense is pretty much useless when it comes to sidestepping, plus so many moves cause chip damage, and with it being dialed so high, blocking feels almost pointless in a lot of fights. Just feels like I'm being punished for being good at defense. It's become kind of boring to watch at high levels, and it's very unrewarding to play. And I think using the competitive scene to hype people to play a game that isn't competitively balanced is very insulting. Now, I don't think it's necessary to make a game completely competitive, and focusing just on legacy players doesn't always solve the problems, but there must be a balance. I think giving casual players something to reach for skill-wise incites a challenge that we as humans can't deny, which is what makes sports in general very exciting in my opinion. I think oftentimes it's the things that people can do in this space we call competition, and it feels so just abnormal. It's like, how did he pull that off? Now, it doesn't have to be impossible to win, but giving wins to players just for spending money ruins the game both ways. Casual players will eventually get bored and not play, and most competitive players already don't like these kinds of practices, and once something better comes along, they leave as well. I feel COD lasted so long doing these things only because it had no real competition up until now. Hence the lowering of skill-based matchmaking and aim assist, and more recently announced, they did say they were adding something to Black Ops 7 to make mouse and keyboard more functional. I'm not sure if they're really going to follow through with this. I mean, even with the skill-based matchmaking, they announced that they're now going to buff it, and the game's been out less than a month. But better late than never, I guess. Now, the last thing I think that falls short often is a game staying true to what it is at its core, while still innovating. A lot of these games wanted COD's success, but just couldn't make a better game. XDefiant, I think, had the right idea not adapting the skill-based matchmaking in its casual mode, but it did a lot of the same things COD did to ruin the game over time by not thoroughly building a proper anti-cheat in their system, added microtransactions that were just out of pocket. Plus, with the very stop and go gameplay, it just, for me, just felt like, why don't I just go play COD at this point? The game's potential as a multiplayer was great. If they improved on the things that COD refused to do, I'd argue we playing that right about now. I feel the reason that didn't happen is because there's a disconnect between the devs and the players that they want to reach. Oftentimes that usually is the case when it comes to a lot of these games. They have no idea who the audience is they're trying to reach or what they really want, whether they be casual or competitive. I think having people who actively, and that's a big thing, who actively play the genre of game that they're making will give them a better perspective on what's needed for it to succeed. If I'm not mistaken, one of the devs for BF6 has been posting clips of him decimating lobbies, and recently he shared that he holds the #3 spot in the world in multiplayer. So I'd argue he has seen the nuances that happen in the game that help them make good decisions on what to fix, from guns and equipment to bugs and glitches, and this one is very important, which ones to fix first. BF6 even has a badge only given to the devs, so you know it's them. This game is also another fighter, 2XKO, but there's a dev there who got the #1 ranked spot not too long ago as well. And that game has everything a tag fighting game player could ever want and more. There's also so many tools for casuals or beginners to use to get good and still have fun, while maintaining a competitive balance and not losing what it means to be a tag fighter at its core. And this is just the beginning. I don't think being a gamer is a requirement to make a game, but it sure as hell helps gain a proper perspective of what the game is like and what you might need to do to help it stay fresh and fun, also while maintaining its competitive balance. And if you're making a game and don't play them, at the very least, hire people or work with the community to understand the audience you are selling to much better. I've been having a blast with Battlefield's multiplayer and Battle Royale, and this is just the start of everything. I hope when other games come out, they pay attention to these things and really understand that we don't need another COD when it comes to arcade FPS. Just make a game that's unique, fun, and beautiful to look at. And if you're going for the competitive scene, make it truly competitive. And if you absolutely must have microtransactions, don't be so absurd with the prices and don't make so many or any pay to win items. I'm feeling hopeful for the future of this genre and in gaming in general. And if there's something you hope to see in COD or other FPS titles, leave it in the comments below, and I hope to see you in the next one.